Okay, so hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of Wage. And this evening we're going to be talking very intimately about crime as it's on an uptick here in the city of Newark. And what is the crime plan? What is being done? Is there money to fund what needs to be done? Has there been a change from now, from when? What exactly is going on? So we're going to be uncovering that. We're going to have two informed guests with us this evening as we discuss this. And of course, you, the listening audience, we want to hear from you as well. So make sure that you prepare and you get ready to join the show. And we'll start soon.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Baby, you a hot stopper.
In my city, yeah, I feel like Big Papa. I feel like Big Papa.
Nah. You gotta go like this. And like this. Baby, you a hot stopper.
Okay, so that's from our production team, and we're about to begin. But before we do, I want to just share a quick clip with you guys. So just bear with me, and we're just gonna share a screen. And this you should know this footage is about 8 years ago, and we're gonna bring it current. So we're just gonna share this real quick. Stay tuned.
Is that the numbers are what the numbers are, and they're frightening. But how about the story behind it? Is anybody talking about why this is happening?
I think the thing that most everybody says is that it's a culture, right? It's a culture that minimizes life, and it glorifies violence and guns and the easy access to guns. But also, Newark is not unlike a lot of urban centers. I mean, Newark has a 14% unemployment rate that is probably more realistically 20%. There's an educational system there that is, while it's in transition, it is failing most of its children. And, we should say that the majority of Newarkers go to work every day, live violence-free lives, go to school, go to work. But there is a lot of poverty in that city, and it's tough to get up off your feet when you don't have a job, for instance. And so those are kind of the things that affect this crime rate. But you can't just tamp down crime, because you can affect the symptoms of the crime, but you can't get to the cancer. And that's the educational system and the poverty and the unemployment.
Okay, so with that being said, I'm going to bring on my two guests for the evening. So everybody give it up for Ra Khan. He's joining us this evening.
Peace and blessings, peace and power. How you doing, sis?
Peace
Thank
and
you for having me on tonight.
Of course, listen, thank you for joining us. And also we're going to also bring on commentator and co-host Io Peterson. Hello, Miss Io Peterson.
Hi.
Hey, sister, how you doing?
I'm good.
Listen,
That's
guys,
good.
we're going to have a very robust discussion tonight about the crime that's on the uptick here in the city of Newark. I noticed you guys just got the opportunity to see the footage. And this was 8 years ago. What they talked about that was primarily, and I want to hear what you think. They said that the problem with crime is really unemployment, the schools, and poverty. Again, they're saying that people don't have jobs, and this was 8 years ago. Be mindful.
Mm-hmm.
The school system sucks. Basically, that's what they're saying, and people are just poor. I want you guys to just weigh in, and for no reason, I'll just start with you with Rod Khan, and then I'll go to Ayo. Do you think that's true? What are your thoughts and feelings about that?
Yeah, it plays a part in it, especially when you're talking about the high unemployment rate that we have in the city. Is the fact that there's no opportunity, and because there's no opportunity, people going to do what they have to do to survive. Sometimes it puts a lot of people out in the streets, because now we're getting into a new era now where if you don't have a skilled trade, you might have a hard time looking for a job, because now they got all these fancy computers and everything, to work in these factories, to really work on the assembly lines. You can go into Walmart now. It might be maybe one or two cashiers in there. The rest of it is self-checkout. So these jobs is starting to be occupied by robots. But when we look at the high unemployment rate,
Yeah.
we can see that there's a lack of industry that's in the city. Now, you have downtown Newark and a lot of professionals from New York working them skyscrapers. You might have a few from Newark, but there's a very low percentage of Newark natives that work downtown Newark unless they vendoring. You know what I'm saying? You know,
Right.
when Cory Booker was in office, he started getting rid of the vendors. So I don't know where it's at now, but I know that when survival instinct kick in, you're gonna do whatever you got to do to survive. And a lot of brothers and a lot of sisters, like I said, survival instinct kick in. You're gonna do whatever you have to do to feed yourself. So sometimes that pushes you to have to commit a crime, or do illegal activity in order to survive. The
Right.
school system, the school system to me at this era is obsolete because it's not preparing our children to really have to, you know, compete in the corporate world. It don't prep them for that. You know what I mean? So they getting basic education that they're not going to be able to use when they get out of high school. You understand? So I remember, like I said, we talked about this a while ago. Of you had skilled trades at one time that was in the schools. You could learn to be an electrician. You could learn to be a plumber. You could learn to be a mechanic. So you would have an option in case you didn't want to get further schooling outside of high school and advanced schooling in college. You know what I'm saying? A lot of kids now are getting baited into getting to college, and then they got this student loan debt that they can't get out of with high interest rates. So that also plays a part in why it's discouraging a lot of kids who don't want to go to college because they don't want to have to be stuck with debt after they get out of college, and there's no guarantee that they're going to get a job in that major. So if they're not going to get a job in their major, you know what I'm saying, they're going to have to seek alternative employment. You know, that might be outside of their major, but they still have to pay the debt. You know what I mean? So the student loans still need to be paid. You know, and now the way the IRS playing, if you don't pay, they're going to start garnishing your check. And if you're not getting paid that much, that's going to put you in a rut. You know what I mean? So it's all designed to keep you in this bubble. You know what I mean? Where you're not really able to really have a stable life. So when you look at these different elements that's in our city, you know what I'm saying, that's keeping us disenfranchised, you have to look at, you know, it as a conglomerate, the unemployment rates, the school system, even the low-paying jobs. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, there's people that got to work 2 or 3 jobs and they still not making ends meet. They keep raising the rent. A lot of people are being displaced out of their homes because they can't afford the rent, or they just getting flushed out because, you know, City Hall just want to remove them because they got a new project and a new development they're going to build in a place or wherever those people are living.
That's right.
So, you understand? We always, you know, you can't single out none of these elements that contribute to our disenfranchisement. They all work together as a conglomerate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Well said, Rod. Well said. Ayo, what are you thinking?
A lot of the points that Rod touched upon, I agree with wholeheartedly. Part of the issue with what the commentator had said was the lack of beneficial education, I should say. In Newark, we're not preparing our youth and our students to compete in the 21st century, let alone in 2022.
That's right. That's right.
As far as the lack of opportunity for employment, the issue that Newark suffers from is mainly not a lack of jobs, it's a lack of jobs that I can say that the Newark residents can perform. So Newark residents may not be educated enough for the jobs that are available in Newark. So for the most part, I think 83% of the residents who live in the city of Newark have to go 10 to 15 miles away from their home to find employment. And a lot of the people who are working in Newark, New Jersey are from outside of the city, the county, and the state. So that's an issue too.
Right.
Also, another reason we're having, currently, the reason we're having a rise in crime is because we have a lot of people who are not from the state of New Jersey coming to New Jersey to live, whether they be from, we have a lot of people coming from New York. We have a lot of people coming from other states. and other cities within the state of New Jersey. And we also have a lot of people coming from other countries. So that is contributing to the rise in crime. But until we can parse the numbers to figure out specifically how many crimes are committed by, people from other places, I can't really talk about, why there's a spike in crime.
Right, right. But that's good stuff. So, right, we hear Eric Adams, right, the mayor of New York, talking a lot about his frustration in dealing with the high amounts of immigrants that have just, bum rushed their way into New York City. And I get kind of confused when I've heard different mayors in different places criticize the last president on building a wall, which honestly I think we all thought it was funny at one point, but now it's not so funny. And I'll start with you to hear your take on this as a sanctuary city. Um,
Mhm.
what is your stance on that in terms of how how do we how do we stay favorable, right, to be in a sanctuary city when such a plight has befallen on us in terms of crime?
Okay, I want to get back to what she said regarding our former president Trump, building the wall.
Right,
And he was getting a lot of pushback from the Democrats, especially, as well as some Rhino Republicans.
right,
With that being said, I used to live in Texas, and there was the whole time Texas has been a state, there's been an enormous influx of immigrants
right.
from Mexico.
That's
But
right.
that's not what's going on today in 2022. The what's often attributed to Mexican immigration is in fact immigration from people from all around the world meeting up at the border of Mexico and this country and
That's right.
entering the country because it's very easy to do because there are a lot of holes left where the wall wasn't completed, or there's a lot of lax protection for the border. So what we're having people from the Middle East, we're having people from Africa, from European countries, even the Ukraine. We have people from the Caribbean and South America meeting at the Mexican US border to enter our country because it's the easiest route. So we have to deal with that. And what's happening, because Newark is a sanctuary city, a lot of those people who have not been documented are making their way to Newark, New Jersey, because we're a sanctuary city, as well as New York City and other tri-state cities that are under the sanctuary status.
Right, right, right. Rod Khan, what do you think?
Well, when Trump was trying to build up the wall, a lot of people was running with the he's racist. They was going along those lines, not really paying attention on why, because a lot of people they make their they'll make their points off of a lot of the propaganda of the fact that they said that he's a racist, so they didn't want to hear anything he was saying,
Right,
and because of this, the Democrats want they want a cheaper labor force here, right? Because they seen us talking about wages and having no industries and not being a protected class of people when law enforcement was mowing us down. This is when Obama was still in office.
facts.
So, they was going to try to get us all riled up through emotions to talk against Trump and be oppositional to Trump, where now we having this influx of immigrants, like Ayo was saying, not just South Americans, but from other parts of the world coming here and coming through the border of Texas, you know what I'm saying? Because they know as long as the Democrats is in office, all they got to do is cross the border, and they good.
Yeah.
They will provide them with amnesty. They will provide them, with emergency grants to get apartments or emergency grants to get businesses. They know that the benefits is waiting for them. You know what I'm saying? The only hurdle was for them to get across the border. You
Right,
understand? And I told this to somebody before. I was like, me per se, if I was an immigrant and I know all I got to do is get past this border to get benefits, to get prioritized when it comes to money,
right,
shelter, business grants, yeah, I'm gonna go for it. You
Right.
understand? So you can't get mad at them because you see what's waiting on the other side for them. They know what's waiting on the other side. All they got to do is get past, that border. So,
Right.
when they was labeling Trump a racist because he was seeing the big picture,
Right.
he said the thing is, and he said the reason why that African Americans have a high unemployment rate because a lot of the influx of these immigrants coming in taking a lot of the jobs.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Unchecked, unplanned, right? Again, so we're talking about a crime plan, but we're also talking about how do we, right, assimilate, or I guess, or how does the immigrants that are coming in, how do they assimilate into what we already have going on? Because there was already crime here, but there were already immigrants here, right? So
Yes.
there are a lot of different variables that exist. How do we deal with this? In terms of the money that is coming in. There's a lot of money that is coming in to deal with crime. How do we deal with this? Because right now, matter of fact, I'm gonna take the opportunity to just show a clip, if I can. Let's see, I want to just show a quick clip in terms of how the city is dealing with the crime right now. So I hope you guys can see this. Let me see. You guys just bear with me shortly. Okay, I gotta share my screen. And I want to get your opinion on how you think the methods that we're already using here in the city of Newark, if you think they're productive.
Newark encouraging everyone to get involved in the city's Peace Walk today. It spanned across all wards of New Jersey's largest city. This was the scene. It comes amid a recent spike in violence, as our Christy Kalishian reports.
Newark forward minus violence equals our future is the theme for Newark's 13-mile peace walk across all 5 wards.
Violence and it's traumatizing and it paralyzes people,
But on Saturday, residents came out and walked. Even business owners were called on to close down for the day and join in.
We had a serious spike in violence this summer, and we need to address it and challenge it, and that's what we're doing.
Why do you think it's been going up, and why now?
Well, so I think there's a myriad of different things, man. A COVID associated with the heat and all the other kind of things that are going on, individual confrontations that people have been having, our young people.
State stats show that in July alone, Newark was the city that recovered the most guns. Robberies and car thefts have also gone up in the city this year. The city's Office of Violence Prevention and Trauma Recovery is one of the driving forces behind Newark's peace efforts.
Okay, I just want to stop right there for a minute and let me just take this off for a second. We can come back to it. So basically what the mayor is saying is that COVID, the heat, and confrontations, is what he thinks that may be, motivating the crime, right? But then they go immediately into talking about the number of guns that they've retrieved, right? And then we see this walk, right? So I don't know how, effective a walk is, but what I do notice, and I'm going to just get your commentary on this, I notice a lot of children. I noticed a lot of playing and laughing. I noticed a lot of employees, right? And I noticed dancing. One thing that I do know, when you lose a loved one in this city to crime, the last thing you want to do is dance, right? That's not what's going on in the streets. Children there for a play day, right? And listen to music. I think it's nice for the children to have that, but I don't know how impactful it is for this type of situation. So with the millions that's being sent in, right? I guess this is how the money is spent. Like, what do you guys think about that? And is there something that could be being done that's more effective? And I'll just start with anybody who wants to take that.
I'll start.
Okay.
Well, I don't think it's just the heat and confrontations. I don't think that. I think these kids are mad because there's really no opportunity. They feel like there's no hope for a future for them. A lot of them, all they know is the streets. A lot of them had to struggle. A lot of them ended up having to join gangs for protection. You know, a lot of these kids grew up in hostile environments. But also, what is the alternative? You know, it's not just taking guns off the streets. You know what I mean? Because if the mentality is still out there and these kids don't have no hope to change because they don't see no change in their community, I'm sure they could get their hands on more guns. Now, the city can blame it on gang violence, heat, and all that. But when you look and see that there's no opportunity, there's no industry, the school system pretty much is not prepping them to be out here and be, you know, and compete in the corporate world with other ethnic groups. I think a lot of these kids, like, what's the use of changing? You know, when they can look at their city and see that the city is has not changed in a lot of years. They know City Hall is not doing nothing. A lot of the kids is playing because they look at the protesting or the rallying as a form of entertainment. When George Floyd, you remember when George Floyd, when his uprising happened, a lot of people was on Broad and Market dancing and stuff. They had a DJ out there. What are we celebrating? We celebrating deaf culture? You understand? Because it seems like we don't really take a lot of things serious because we don't really see a change. We might show up just to say we was there, but it's really no change. You don't see no difference or no change in what's going on in the city. Yeah, we'll protest, we'll rap a little, you know what I'm saying? We'll sit up there and rally. But then a lot of people don't have big expectations that something great is going to happen after that.
Right.
So it's never going to be no effective follow-up. We'll come and meet up with each other, hold some signs, stuff like that. But it's the political structure that's in Newark. You understand? That's going to have to change if there's going to be some progress. You know what I mean? So a lot of these kids don't have hope. You understand? They angry, and I understand why they're angry. They're very angry. You know, I look at our generation, and, you know, we like, oh, these kids don't listen. These kids are wild. These kids will hurt you. But don't forget that these are our children. All right? So when I look at that, I can't get mad at the kids without getting mad at myself. There was obviously something that we was not doing or didn't have the resources to give them a wholesome upbringing where they're not just venturing off into the streets. You know what I mean? So we're in a broken community. We're in a broken environment, and there's a lot of people, you know what I'm saying, that haven't been raised right themselves. So how are they going to raise children? And we can't forget a lot of the parents were teenagers when they had some of these children. You know what I mean? They were kids too.
Right.
You know? So you could teach a child but so much when you a child yourself still learning.
That's right.
You understand? So, but that don't get the political structure in Newark off the hook because they know just taking guns off the street is not enough if you're not replacing it with resources, opportunity to make these kids hold their heads up high, to feel like somebody. You understand? They seeing this influx of these immigrants coming in and starting to elevate past them. They've only been in this country in a matter of months, and they already elevate and getting resources and tangibles that should have been accredited to us.
You know what, Rod? You make an excellent point. We were just talking about earlier how when we look at how the wards such as the North and the East wards are thriving in terms of their business districts, right? When you come in our business districts, right? If you look to Bergen Street or if you look to 18th Avenue, South Orange Avenue, Springfield Avenue, you see a lot of businesses that are starting to develop that are not us, right? That are not native Newarkers, that are not even, you know, from this country. So, you know, you're right on target when you talk about that. Ayo, I don't know if you want to just, you know, supplement or add into that or share your ideas.
I want to chime in on what Rob was speaking of earlier as far as the youth not having anything to do. And I'm with you wholeheartedly that this goes back to the political structure not providing the funds that they do receive from the federal government, from the state, to help with education, with job training. The problem that I've seen that we have in the city of Newark is youth do not have access to opportunity.
Right.
That's the biggest thing. Once we
right.
allow our youth to not only get a good education, but give them access to opportunities that will help them be upwardly mobile, then we'll see a change.
Right.
Outside of that, you're going to see crime, you're going to see poverty, you're going to see more of the same. So until the political leaders actually start um, distributing the money fairly to the city as opposed to just keeping it to themselves, we're not going to see any difference. We're not
I
going to
agree.
see a change in the city.
I agree. I agree. But that being said, I want to just talk a little bit about engagement. The engagement that the public has that can't physically get to the council meetings here in the city of Newark. They're able to engage actively on YouTube because they are live streamed there. I looked at the YouTube page for the city of Newark, and they only have 507 subscribers. Again, those numbers of 507
Very
subscribers.
low.
We live in a population, right? 324,000. Again, 324,000. But the avenue that we have to view what's going on, because we know that those council meetings are relatively empty. So even from home, virtually, people are not tuning in at all. So you have 507 subscribers, right? And something there was a citizen that gave some testimony at the council meeting. And I guess we'll start here with you to see what you think about this. Because you live in the West Ward.
Right.
She said this particular constituent lives in the West Ward. She said that there was 35,552 voters here in the West Ward. And she shared with the current councilman that he won the election by 1,858. And I'm going to repeat those numbers again because they were very scathing. She quantified it to be about 5% of the actual vote. And again, those numbers that she stated was 35,552 voters. So let's round that off to 40,000 people, 1,800 people voted in the legislation, the legislative person for our community. And this is a community that has the uptick in crime. This is a community that there's no active or visible crime plan at all. As a member of or constituent in the West Ward, Aya, what do you think about that?
Well, I think the numbers are a reflection of the current administration. When you see low voter turnout, that means that there's disdain for the current administration and also disdain for the people that are running. That's a way that people can voice how they feel, because we do not control City Hall. We are not in the halls of City Hall every day. We do not get to pass policies or legislation. So a way that the constituents can show that they have disdain for the administration is by not voting them in to begin with.
Right.
With that being said, what we can do is do things outside of them, because they have not been effective the entire time they've been in office for, I'd say, the past 8 years. They've been ineffective, so we have to come up with solutions ourselves with what we have, basically.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. Ra, what do you think about that?
Well, just to add on what Ayo was saying, it's a lack of belief, and a lot of people are not encouraged to go out and vote because such the lousy job that City Hall has been doing, the political structure in North. A lot of people don't believe in it. They don't believe that voting helps us. They think it's ineffective, and you can't blame them for that, because throughout the years, those who were active in voting, and then you start seeing that your neighborhood is still the same way it was 10, 15, 20 years ago. Nothing's changing. People are coming here that don't even got to vote and still get benefits and tangibles. They tell us to vote, then we go and exercise the right to vote, but then nothing never changed for the better for us. So a lot of people don't believe in the voting process because it has not benefited us as an ethnic group. It has not. So when you look at that and you see the turnout, you really can't be mad at them. Because if somebody asks you, well, show me what voting has done for us
Right.
as black people, as black natives of North, show me what it has done for us. We're getting displaced. We're getting displaced from our homes. They raising the rent. They saying affordable housing, but that's just a code word for New Yorkers and people from other regions to come here and get affordable housing.
Exactly.
It is not being provided for the natives.
Right.
When you look at the condition of the West Ward, you look at the condition of the South Ward, and then you're wondering, we have no businesses. Our businesses are depleting.
Right.
You understand? Yeah, now we're dealing with when you have immigrants buying the real estate with a commercial space in, it won't even lease us no commercial space. So now we're even getting kept out of the business districts, you know what I'm saying? So we can try to be competitive economically. They're not even allowing us to get in the game when it comes to that. So
Right.
people say, yeah, we need economic power, but what you're leaving out is that without the real estate, we have no establishment. You understand?
Right.
They're
Right.
keeping us out of economics. You know what I mean? A lot of these groups don't practice group economics with us.
Not at all. That's right.
And I'm gonna keep it 100 right now. I'm gonna keep it funky.
Please do.
Show me the black and brown coalition that works collectively, you know what I'm saying, so we could both have economic power as one group.
That's
Show
right.
me an example of that. Show me one where you see the collective of Latinos and blacks together in a black and brown coalition, and together we're making progress economically and politically too. So when I break it down, all I'm saying is that we got to stop using these terms that is not helping us.
Right.
You understand? I refuse to keep me and my family in a fallacy. You
Right.
understand?
Right.
You know, you might hear black and brown, but you never hear brown and black. You don't. And we're not talking about individuals. We're talking about the group as a collective.
Right. As a
They're
collective.
they're not integrating with us economically. They're not integrating with us politically. They're not. You understand? So when I look at, and I'm not just singling them out, you know, I'm just talking about when you're dealing with, you know, the influx of immigrants, they already been incentivized to stay away from us. You understand? But yet and still they're in our communities. That don't help us. You understand? You're integrating our communities. You've been told to stay away from us. Sometimes when you walking past, they start speaking in their language, and they can speak English well when it's time to get tangibles.
That's
You
right.
see what I'm saying?
That's right.
This is to keep that division. You
That's
understand? You're in our communities, but you're not practicing group economics with us.
Right.
That hurts us more than help us.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
Right.
You understand? So you can't talk about economics. Well, we need economics. We need black economics, and you can't even get a business in commercial space because you got somebody, you know what I mean, a non-black group keeping you out of the economics because they won't lease you no commercial space in your own city.
Right.
This is happening.
That's right.
This is the problem. You know what I mean? This is a part of the problem.
Absolutely.
But I'm not gonna. My thing is, I'm not going to include another group that don't include us. You understand?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know. So that's what I'm saying. If we're talking about integration is based on equality, right? If I'm integrating with another group, that means that I'm getting equal tangibles. I'm getting equal resources. We're doing business with each other, and we both growing as far as economic power. We're both running as one political party, you know what I'm saying? Not because the Democrats or the Republicans told you to vote this way or the other way. No, we would have been formed our own political party if there was, you know what I'm saying, some camaraderie there, and then when we're talking kinsmanship.
Right.
You understand? So I don't see these things. When you're talking about together as a thriving community, I don't see these different, you know what I'm saying, components that makes a thriving community. I don't see that being practiced. You understand? We might live in the same area, but we're not doing nothing collectively as two ethnic groups coming together, you know what I'm saying, to build up the community. You understand? So my thing is this, you know what I mean? I'm not going to be in the fallacy, and I advise black people don't fall for the fallacy. You understand? Like, we're on our own. Systemically, we have no friends. We don't. we'll play the role that we do because we try to keep the peace, and I get that. But systemically, we have no friends, we have no allies, and once we realize that, then we can start working with each other so we can create this economic power and start having a thriving community as a group.
Great job. Well said.
Yes.
I
Rod, you just killed it right there. I don't even know where to start. I'll go back to what we were talking about before under the Trump administration. When he was complaining about undocumented immigrants coming to the United States, and he foretold this place that we're in now where there was going to be a tremendous imbalance and a lot of crime. He did speak of that. And what's interesting to me is nobody's making the correlation with the rise in crime in Newark and the fact that we're a sanctuary city who has received a lot of undocumented immigrants in the past several months. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
nobody's making that correlation, which is interesting to me. But what I'd like to see happen is that we could parse through the numbers of the people who are coming to Newark, like I'd say in the past 2 or 3 years, where they're from, what their economic situation is, and if they have a background in crime, because
Right.
then that would help us to determine the what we're dealing with and how we can deal with the issues that we now face in the city of Newark. Because we don't know what we're dealing with, there's no way to come up with a plan on how to deal with it, if that makes any sense.
Right. No, it makes perfect sense. In fact, that was one of the issues on the table the last time we were at a West Ward meeting, and we haven't had many of them. But one thing that came up for sure was just the fact that the community was asked to come up with a crime plan. And you know, I just thought that that was offensive. You know, our
Yeah.
tax money pays people, right? We pay council people, we pay at large council people, right?
That's right.
We have 5 employees each, and you know, like, why are we coming up with crime plans? Like, why are you not researching, trying something? And again, we have so much federal money coming in right now. I just don't see any evidence that we have absolutely anything. And I want to talk about some of these things that that could be, you know, in the realm of urban planning that you could feasibly do that can, even if it decreases crime by 1%, right? It's something like the small things that could be done. The brightening of lights around the city where needed, especially where the high crime areas are. In the Westwood, there's still many dark spaces. There has been some lights put in some areas, but after 8 years, it just needs to be a better job in terms of lighting. That's one thing that we could do. Like you said, evaluate who is it that is committing these crimes? Is there documentation? Is there ongoing record? People have a difficult time, and people are complaining in terms of filing for Oprah requests. They're not getting the information that's being requested. So it's very hard for the people to say, okay, this, that, and the third is going on from a point of strength and facts, because we can't get the data. But what we do understand is that we see a lot of immigrants when we're walking. It's evident. We see a lot of we already know that, especially the Westwood is a very transient area. But like Rod just said, we don't see the tangibles here. We don't see the tangibles. Like we're voting for absolutely nothing. We're not safe when we go out. We're afraid when we go out. Some of us don't even go out after a certain time at night. And then again, you have people that are sharing concerns as it relates to crime, as it relates to a higher rate of prostitution going on, right? A higher rate of because we know that correlates along with drug selling. And instead of hearing plans, what I think that a lot of people would be in agreement to say is that there's a defensive response, right? It's defense. You know, you can't be mean to me, type of thing. You know, don't yell at me. You know, watch the way that you talk to me. And it's like,
I think it's more deflective than defensive.
It is
it's
deflecting
from the issue. And that's what I've seen, not just, you know, with politicians, but it's a part of the culture now where when when
Right.
someone's trying
Yeah.
to bring up legitimate issues or
You
concerns,
don't want to hear it.
it's right. There's always a deflection tactic being used.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we
Because the
have to
deflect. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Rob.
No, let me chime in. The deflection, they get really emotional because, like I said, it's there's some guilt there, especially if you're not doing your job and people are asking real valid questions. Why you can't answer it? Why I gotta be? Don't talk to me like that. Don't yell at me. Nobody's yelling at you.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
People want answers and they have a right to for answers. Crime is sky high. People are scared to be outside. Some people scared to be on their porches. You can't, you know what I mean? Because crime is running amok. And we're talking about people with valid questions that's taxpayers. You understand?
Exactly.
And then they wonder why they're not getting protection in the neighborhood that they was born and raised in.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because they don't have no answers. That's why. Because they can't, they don't have no answers because they're allowing this crime to run amok. This is happening in a lot of the major cities. Y'all living to running up because crime is big. It's big business.
Right.
It's big business. We're dealing with capitalists, okay? So, politics and gangsterism is synonymous with each other. And if politics and gangsterism is synonymous with each other, then politics and crime is synonymous with each other. Right. Meaning you can't have one without the other. They're not going to do nothing about crime. They're not going to do nothing about it.
Nope.
That's right.
Not no capitalist society. Because when you're dealing with capitalism, you're dealing with the prison industrial complex and privatized prisons that brings in billions of dollars. And also slave labor, paying guys, cents off a dollar. So you're dealing not just with prisons, but you're dealing with sweatshops as well, because that's what they are too.
Right.
Cheap labor.
That's right.
So you can't have politics without crime. Not in the capitalist society. Can't have one without the other.
And Rod, that's exactly what's going on. Everything is connected. That's why it's so hard to stop it. But we have to come up with a plan, right? That's no longer acceptable. And I'm not sure how we're going to do that, but this is going to be the first talk of many that explore that. I want to share something with you guys really quick. This was something that I saw online, and basically it states, according to the crime stats on crime grades, Newark is the 10th in the 10th percentile, for crime. This means that 90% of New Jersey cities are safer and 10% are more dangerous. However, you're more likely to become the victim of crime, especially violent crime, in the residential South Ward of Newark. Now, this is where I have the problem, right? We just had an election. And for the last 8 years that we've had elections, what I have saw take place is that whoever runs on the mayor's slate wins. And that's acceptable, right? As long as we're seeing some advancements, as long as we're seeing some improvements, but that is not what we're seeing. And like I said, because we even have the show tonight talking about the uptick in crime, right? It leads you to start to think, okay, what is being done? You can't go back to say, matter of fact, let me see if I still have it up here. You can't go back to say what you were saying years ago. No, I think I took it down. You can't go back to saying what you were saying years ago about we don't have the money to fund this and that. You have the money. Those federal funds came in. And when you see a bunch of children, right, at a walk, like that's what you're doing to combat crime. We're talking about murder. To be specific, we're talking about murder. We're talking about car theft, right? Hold on. We're talking about robberies regularly. We're talking about an 11-year-old last night in the South Ward being molested in a store. That surveillance crimes picked it up. The surveillance cameras picked it up. And there's still no arrest that has been done. Nobody can explain why that is. So we know that there are millions of dollars in funds that have been sent here. Where is that money? What are you doing? A walk is not the answer, especially when you don't really have the community out in this walk. Like I said, let's look at the visual here. We got a bunch of little kids. What are they being used for? To fill up the space?
Exactly. I want to make a comment real quick about that because you have pointed it out, and I noticed it too in the video. A lot of those people work for City Hall. So I think the children were to fill up space because they're the children of workers who work for the city of Newark.
Right.
That wasn't a real event. That was just something, a last ditch effort to make it look like we're doing something regarding
Something, yeah,
the crime.
yeah,
Yeah, but that wasn't a real
yeah.
event because you did not see an organic coming together of different residents of different wards throughout the city of Newark. And in fact, I'll state it very clearly. A lot of the people who work for the city of Newark don't live in Newark. So
Right.
what you saw was a lot of people who work for the city of Newark and their children
We're
at
gonna
a
we're
made up
gonna
event.
yeah, we're gonna revisit it again. Let's revisit it.
Our future is the theme for Newark's 13-mile peace walk across all 5 wards.
Violence and it's traumatizing and it paralyzes people, you know.
But on Saturday, residents came out and walked. Even business owners were called on to close down for the day and join in.
We had a serious spike in violence this summer, and we need to address it and challenge it, and that's what we're doing.
Like right here, if you look at the people that's surrounding him, these are bodyguards. These are some best friends right behind him. These are not representative of the actual constituents and residents that live here in the city of Newark.
going up, and why now?
Well, you know, so I think it's a
Okay, if you look right here, we have cars in the background. Again, acting as fillers, if you will, for this situation.
myriad of different things, man. You know, a COVID associated with the heat and all the other kind of things that are going on, individual confrontations that people have been having, our young people.
State stats show that in July alone, Newark was the city that recovered the most guns. Robberies and car thefts have also gone up in the city this year. The city's Office of Violence Prevention and Trauma.
Okay, we're gonna stop right. Look at this right here. This was a former school board member. This is the current councilwoman, and we have a bunch of children. We have a bunch of children. So, just again, we just don't see evidence that this is anything that is impacting crime. I mean,
Right.
to me, this is something that is fake. This is something to disrespect the intelligence level of the people that live here. I just, somebody has a question. Where did they walk to and from? Didn't see nothing about this. Yeah,
That's what I was
I
thinking.
didn't
I
hear,
was like,
I
where
didn't
was
hear
they
about it
walking?
either.
Yeah. Where were they? Yeah. I
All
was
I know,
thinking
they were in the
same thing.
South Ward. That's all I know.
Tanika,
Yeah.
excellent question. I'm a district leader. When I tell you, I heard nothing. There was not an email. There was nothing. And mind you, because I had COVID twice and I was asking questions on the city website, I can't even ask questions anymore. So I'm like, no access for me. But there's hundreds of other people that are suffering the same thing. We don't like your question, so we don't want to deal with you. That is not leadership. That is not how we impact crime. That's not a plan for crime. We're going to delete people. And so what ends up happening is that's how you end up getting 507 subscribers to the YouTube channel for a council meeting.
Exactly.
Because you think that people are not watching this behavior? Do you think that the children are not watching this behavior? Do you think the young people? And that's another thing. There was an article that recently came out that asked the question, where are the kids? Why are the kids not in school? Where are the children? After COVID, they were looking for the kids to come back in and rush back in. It wasn't the case. So again, we have some things to explore here that's really problematic, and pretending to have walks, right? And like I said, if the district leaders don't know, how can I even tell people in my district? And Tanika says that she actually lives in the South Ward. Okay, so when
Wow.
an 11-year-old got molested, that was in the South Ward. When they're talking about the guns being confiscated, they're talking specifically about the South Ward. Again, a walk.
I want to chime in on something that Ra had said earlier about how politics and crime go hand in hand.
Right.
This is an aside. It has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but it's interesting because in the South Ward is where most of our political representatives live. Like we have several council people that live in the South Ward. Our mayor lives in the South Ward. We have a U.S. Congress member who supposedly lives in the South Ward. We
Wow.
have a lot of political representation within the South Ward.
Wow. So listen,
So
Tanika
it shouldn't be
Moses.
the biggest area of crime in the city. That doesn't make any sense.
So listen, right, absolutely. And it wasn't like that when we were growing up here. The South Ward was one of the most premier areas like in the city.
Exactly.
So I don't know how that happened. So Tanika's saying that she actually she said they were not over here. So we have somebody saying that they actually live in the South Ward and they were not over here. So again, what dictated the areas that they went in? You know? Manera says, according to the Essex County point of count, 1,200 Newark public school students are homeless. Wow.
Wow.
And we talked about this several shows ago.
Wow.
We talked about, because people were always questioning, like, why are they in the streets at night? And I specifically said, a lot of these children are literally homeless and nothing's being done about it, while we're at the same time making sure that undocumented immigrants, like Ross said, have a place to live, have emergency funding, have you know, access to employment opportunities and medical help.
That's right.
While we're not even making sure that young people have food, clothing, and shelter.
That's right.
Within the city of Newark.
So I want to just say that Manera just mentioned that the school board meeting, I'm going to start bringing this to a close and let you guys have some closing remarks. The school board meeting is tomorrow at 6 p.m. So you guys please try to go if you can. Tanika Moses says that Carver School has over 100 displaced children in the school. Carver is a elementary school. It's an elementary school, so that is absolutely huge. We really have to do something to you know, start to impact some of the things that are going on here in a positive way. As the constituents, it's sad that the mayor is not inviting more just regular constituents to be involved, but I think that that's what needs to happen, because one thing that can be very effective in terms of crime, right, fighting crime. And I'm going to write I wrote a couple things down that you guys said. Now I'm going to put this comment up real fast again. Tomorrow, there's a school board meeting. To anybody listening to this, please share this live. It's very important that people understand when these school board meetings are held and that you're involved. One thing that Ross said earlier about the trades, our young people need a way to sustain themselves, to sustain their living. And trades can be an option for them, a very viable option. For those of you who want more information, Manera El-Bamani is on here now. You can inbox her. She has some great information as it relates to, let me see here, this is some really good stuff. Grants, people who want to get into solar energy. She has some information pertaining to that. We know that that's on the move here. And also there are some construction slots still available, I believe. So again, you want to reach out to those people in the community that have information they can share with you, please do. Also, I just want to say that I believe Phil Wilson is running for school board. He ran the last term and his platform consisted of trades. He was the only Black man that was running on it. And he's a product of what he's talking about. He's absolutely one of the best mechanics I know. And he's made a great living for himself. So when our young people, like Rob was saying again, when you present them with opportunities, right? You said something else, because I wrote down, and this is the plan, right? This is the plan. Trades, right? Instill hope for the future. Instill hope for the future. What does that look like? That looks like getting along with your constituents. That looks like stop creating and supporting dissension in your community amongst leadership. Listen, everybody here wants to see everybody here getting along. They want to see everybody working together, because that again instills hope. When you see leadership having a hard time getting along with people to the point that they have to create a scene for a walk, that you don't have legitimate people involved. I've never seen Sharp James do that before. And it's not to compare him to anybody else, but I'm just saying sometimes if something was done that's working, it's something that it could be applicable now. Please, let's just try it out. Increase protection on the streets, right? Surveillance cameras is a tool, right? And there's a lot of other things that we can talk about, but like I said, in accordance to the time, I want to start to wind down. I'm going to give you guys the last comments, and then I'm going to close out. Ayo ladies first, and then I'll go to Rakan, and whatever you can share just to close out. What thoughts you would like to leave the community with?
Okay, I think as a community, we need to depend on ourselves more, because I personally do not believe that um, the politicians that are in office today have any intentions of working with the community or doing anything to make it better. So I think we need to independently come up with programs and implement like some of the suggestions that Ra had made and that Sheila had just read off. Also, as far as the like police presence and the surveillance, Newark is a very surveilled city, so that's not the issue. The issue is with the surveillance and with the police presence, what is being done to make sure, like we said earlier, that youth actually have access to opportunity. Because
Well,
what's
it's
not
a bell, but it needs to be used for that purpose of crime.
right,
Yeah,
exactly, because
it's
the
heavily
surveillance
protected.
is ridiculous in Newark.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
literally, we as constituents can sit here and watch different corners and different streets
right.
and different buildings, but what good is that when we're watching the youth not do anything, when we're watching the youth not have
Right,
access to opportunity? I think
right.
that's the most important thing, making sure that there's adequate opportunity presented to our youth, as opposed to just people who work for the city or people who know such and such getting their children hooked up. I think that the entire city should have access
I
um,
I
to
agree.
opportunity as well.
Thank you, Ayon. Thank you. We
Hmm.
appreciate you always here in the city of Newark.
Thank you.
Ra,
We need to prioritize ourselves for once. Stop having all this inclusion. We need to constitute a code for us by us. You know what I mean? Prioritize the children. The thing is, we have a culture of, we'll talk about the problems, but never try to sit with a think tank and try to come up with solutions. So let this, what's going on now, be the motivation for us to start working with each other. Because, like I said earlier, systemically, we have no friends, we have no allies. All we have is us. But I look at that, it's always been like that. You know what I mean? We can accomplish things, but we have to be truthful about this. You know what I'm saying? That the city hall, the city governments is not doing much for us. They're not going to do much for us. We have to look at it from an independent mindset that we're going to have to do it ourselves. But it starts with respecting each other and loving each other. The unity should be the code. Kinsmanship for one another should be the code. And then the sky's the limit after that. I think we will accomplish great things. But it starts with prioritizing us and our community first.
absolutely. I agree with you wholeheartedly. And again, Rod, just thank you so much for just coming out, being a part of this conversation. Just a couple of remarks. Tanika says Big Brother is listening again. Let's hope they are, and
I'm
let's hope
sure they are.
yeah,
Yeah,
implement some of these great ideas that we're trying to share and be positive about. Manira says yes, code of conduct.
that's
Absolutely,
right. That's
absolutely.
right.
Yeah, Tanika says they keep cutting in on the audio. Very sad. We're seeing a habitual practice of that, but we're going to keep pushing
Yeah.
forward as always. And Manira says when policing the politicians and oh wait, who's
Who's
policing? I'm
policing?
sorry,
Yeah.
yeah, the politicians and the police. Great question, and it's one that we want to leave our community with tonight because it's our job to do. Our job as citizens to be involved and engaged, and we invite others to become more involved and more engaged as well. Thank you for joining us tonight, and we want to keep you in the loop with. We're planning to just investigate to find out what's going on and why no arrest has been made in the South Ward with the allegations of the 11-year-old being molested. I have a group, W.A.G.E, Women Advocating for Gender Equality. This is actually where this show operates out of, and every single mother in that group tonight wanted it to be done, that we go around there to investigate, to try to support that parent, to see what's going on, and if need be, to shut that store down or to definitely have them, weigh in with some responsibility and answer some questions. So we're definitely on the ground for that. Again, we seek to be a help, right, not a hindrance. And hopefully some of these ideas can be welcomed and in fact even encouraged for further communication and conversation. Again, thank you guys for joining us this evening. Thank you all for watching WAGE. And until next time, it's WAGE love. Peace.
Town, a 14-year-old boy with a record of drug arrests was shot and killed. It was the 10th fatal shooting or stabbing in Newark in 10 days.
Another deadly shooting investigation is underway tonight in Newark. This comes after a wave of violence erupted.
First, let me introduce y'all to the mayor, and I'm saying mayor because that's what it is. Some call me Sheila or Silver Bullet, just know I'm all about handling biz. First, we're gonna start by saving the kids, making the city a safe place to live. Unlike some people, that's all about self. My only mission right now is to give. And now it's feeling like Resident Evil with all of these fake political leaders. They need to go sit in the bleachers and just stay motivational speakers. Being the mayor is not for the weak. Got my feet on the ground and I'm out in these streets. You can show me with action, it's not what you speak. Say you for the city ain't beat. Lit the city on fire, we're walking through ashes. Parents are tired of giving you passes. Why are our children not learning in classes? Teach about businesses, real estate taxes. Fighting to keep low income housing. So much corruption, it's astounding. Team NEWARK, we can't allow that. And there ain't no way to get around that. Nothing but change when you vote for me. Time to get back where we supposed to be.